The skinny snake chases his food everywhere. The skinny snake chases his food through the bushes and up through the trees and corners it and finds it. He says, but the fat snake, he sits under that tree or he sits under the bush. He waits for his food to make a mistake and then he seizes on it.
In this video, we will be going over the Americana submission, but in much more detail than we did in the mechanics video. In this video, it's going to be Americana Mastery. How do you overcome their defenses, overcome their resistance, and able to get the finish anyways? You still have the same four mechanics. Separate the arm from the body, get your figure four hold, elbow to his hip, and then roll your wrists, pull up on the elbow to finish. Okay, so it's the same mechanics, but we're going to be problem solving in this video. So first off, what if they're way bigger and stronger than you? They don't want you to separate their arm from your body. There's some strong dudes that, if they don't want it, it's very hard to get them to move their arm. Okay, so instead of just relying on our weight, here's what we're going to do. You drop your hips low and back. I'm going to splay my knees wide, clap my feet kind of behind his butt. I'm going to get my chest low and I'm going to use my hold. I'm going to stretch my whole body out and push. So I'm using as much strength as I can in addition to my weight to separate out. Okay, so we're here. And the second I get the back of his hand on the mat, I drop my elbow to kind of secure the position. Another way to separate it out is you can actually, instead of just doing two overhand grips, you can do one under. Get you a little bit more of an angle to separate it out, okay? So you're here, he's strong, he's defending, he doesn't want me to separate it out. If I do this, now once I have the back of his hand on the mat, I'm gonna switch my grip to sloth grip, then drop my elbow, okay? So that's the first step. A couple of extra things to note. Make sure you are sloth gripping, do not C grip. If you C grip, he gets out very easily. So sloth grip, right here, you want the middle finger right on the joint, okay? If I'm down here, I'm not at the end of the lever. I lose a lot of my leverage in order to apply braking mechanics in a few minutes here. Don't grab the hand because now there's a whole extra joint that'll mess me up, okay? So I want best of both worlds, middle finger right on the joint, and I go heavy here. Heavy on this elbow. The reason for that is if he looks at his hand that I'm attacking, he can recruit more pectoral muscles and he's going to become stronger in his defense. Well, I don't want that. So I'm heavy here so he can't look, and it's some good spacing as well, okay? Next, one of the things he could do to stop me from getting my figure four hold on his arm is I get him down here and I go underneath and he knows I want to go underneath his upper arm, so he pins his elbow down. Just pressing it into the mat, just how to stuff me, so it's hard for me to get under. Okay, I could just switch, instead of going under like this, I can switch to go palm up and try to sneak it under, and then go back to my over grip, or just enter from the wrist instead to overcome that dilemma. So we get here, we get the figure four. Now you also need it bent. A lot of guys will straighten. The second they feel I'm going here, he straightens it. Now, my sloth grip kept me from losing the grip, but now I've got a problem, okay? I have my figure four, but I need to bend it in order to get the next step, which is his elbow down. So, a couple of things here you can do. Elbow on your forehead on your hands, and then you use your whole body to break it down. That's one step. Another step that's been used pretty effectively, you can use your own gi if it's in gi. So if they're here and you're just struggling, you can't get it, and they've straightened, okay, fine. You can grab your gi here and use that to help get a bend in his elbow, because you need the figure four, but you also need that square. You all right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's another thing you can do. Something else that you'll run into is, instead of just straightening, he'll actually preemptively start a defense where he's going to roll onto his side and grab his own hand. Okay? So if he does that, if his hand comes through my hands, it's very easy. I'm just going to move my sternum over his elbow and kind of trap his elbow and his tricep there, okay? Next, I can go into the gift wrap position Okay, I wanted the Americana, but I guess I'll settle for your back. Also, if you get the chest over is the most important part. You get the gift wrap. There's all kinds of, there's gi chokes, there's non-gi chokes. There's all kinds of options there. So if you're on mount and you're trying to open up your opponent, well, yeah, go for the Americana. Yeah, if he gives it to me, awesome. I want the Americana. But you can use it to set up a bunch of other options as well, okay? Another thing he can do is he can actually grab his hands and then he's gonna snake his head in between my hands. Well, now he's stumped me. I can't get his elbow down to his hip because his head's in the way. Well, that's okay. If he decides to do that, I'm gonna put the back of his hand on the mat. I'm going to bring his elbow up and get either my head or my shoulder. I'm going to drive with my upper body. I'm doing a wrist lock, okay? So if he decides to stick his head in the middle, great, okay? It doesn't matter, I can still get the finish. Let's recenter a little bit. So those are the first two steps. Something else that you're gonna run into though, is when you separate it and you're working on your figure four, or after you've got it before you get the elbow all the way down, you'll notice that the weight distribution of the guy on top gets shifted from center to off to the side, okay? So another strong defense he could do is he's gonna C-grip my armpit, and since my center of gravity is off to the side, he can just oopa or bridge over to his shoulder to the side, and now I've lost it, and he ends up rolling up inside a guard. So I no longer have top position. In order to stump this defense, we're actually gonna look at weight distribution and how I use my legs. Okay, so instead of just staying here and in the mechanics video, we just talked about just moving your knee back. Well, there's a better way to do it. What we're going to do is we're actually gonna shift our hips and see what happened to my center of gravity. Instead of being, my sternum being over here, now my weight's over here. I moved it 6 inches. Okay, so it looks like this. We're gonna switch the angle so you can see what's going on with our lower bodies. So I'm here. What I'm gonna do is I shift my hips. I'm gonna cradle his hip bones with the back of this knee is biting in and being very snug, and then the top of this knee is going to come in and be very snug on his hip bones. Something important to note is don't have a lazy foot here. If I'm here, I have no pressure, and therefore he could move his hips, he could try shrimping, he can try to catch my ankles with his legs, all kinds of things I don't want. Okay, so I'm going to get toes on the mat and kind of kickstand and control his hips. Also, if he starts bridging to try to release pressure from the Americana, this keeps me on top of him, okay? So I'm here, and then I can get the finish. Let's just turn a little bit right here. In order to finish the Americana, we are going to get here, bring his elbow down, curl both the wrists. Don't just curl one wrist. Most people curl this wrist. The one on the inside needs to curl too. So we'll be nice and pull it up here. You want both of them curled, okay? Then you're gonna, another extra detail is if you want to attack more of the elbow than the shoulder, you could turn his wrist to where his palm is facing out, and then it'll also put some pressure on the elbow joint in addition to the shoulder joint. The way you do that is just twist it here, okay? Now, you can still get it if they're super flexible. You get the elbow all the way down and they're still not tapping. I'm gonna do it up here so you can still have a shoulder after this. But if I come up, if I've curled my wrists, I've pulled up on the elbow and I still can't get it, I can actually take this hand that's on his wrist and I kind of push it underneath. So not only am I pulling up the elbow, but I can also shove his hand under if necessary, if they're too flexible. And that is the Americana, how to defeat their defenses and how to actually get the finish in the live rolling sessions. Theo's now going to go over the entries for the side control variation.
Okay, so let's talk about entries from side controller, or I like to call it cross body. Okay, so the mechanics are still the same. We're going to get his arm to the square. We're going to bring his elbow down to his waist. We'll keep pressure on his wrist. And we're going to lift this elbow. But entering it, you're going to run into a few different problems. So let's go over one problem. Let's say I'm actually doing cross body. So I'm checking his hip. My armpit is over his neck and I'm here. And he hides this arm underneath my armpit. That's a smart thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to take this arm that's checking his hip. I'm going to bring it through underneath my stomach and I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to hook his elbow. Then from here, you don't want to keep constant pressure. If I just push, he's going to push back into me and now it's a fight. So I'm going to actually put pressure into him and release back and forth. And that's what throws off his defense. Because if he's just doing constant pressure, but I start doing this and I ratchet, oh, now I popped it out. So I pulled it out from my armpit. Now that I have it out here, I've ratcheted out, my top hand can come and I hook. And same thing that we said before, don't C-grip. If I C-grip, he's just gonna pop that out. I lose it. So once I get this out, I ratchet it and I hook. Once you hook your hand here in your sloth grip, remember, weight goes on your elbow so he can't pull it out, okay? And then right from here, entering from the wrist or underneath, we're gonna curl our wrist, and at the same time, remember, we're gonna bring this elbow down to his hip. Then we curl our wrists until we get that tap. So once again, he hides his arm, I'm checking his hip. I need this out. Bring this in and hook, make a fist, and then I'm just gonna go back and forth, just ratchet. Once it comes out, I can hook this, elbow, it's heavy, and I'll even extend my leg out here heavy, and I'll enter in to get my figure 4 lock. Okay, so we've separated the arm, we have our figure 4 lock. Bring this elbow down, curl my wrist until there's our tap. So that's one way of entering it. Another way we can enter it, where if you're in standard side control, okay, so I have this here, I have my arm under, so I'm no longer checking the hip. From standard side control, sometimes people will hook here or they'll put pressure. There are 2 ways of catching his arm. One way is to switch to kisekatami, or a different version of side control. So I'm just going to switch into judo here. And as I come back here and they loosen this grip, once I realize that he's no longer pushing there and he brings us back, you're going to catch it. Okay. So I'm here, he's there. I'm just going to switch judo right here and kind of relax. Once he starts bringing his arm in, because there's a lot of ways I can make him bring his arm back. One way, I start attacking his neck. There it is. Now I switch back. We're right back to where we were at. Okay, do the mechanics. Curl, bring it down, lift. So that's one way you can get it, by going to judo. Another way we can get it from here, from your standard side control, is as he's pushing my neck, I'm going to make this elbow come in. And by bringing his elbow in, this is going to flare his wrist out. So watch. Here, pass this over and flare. Once I flare this out, I bring my palm in. Now it's palm up. I know we want to end up this way, and we will. We're going to go palm up. Now look, my other hand's already here. I'm going to slide this palm up. Now, when I rotate my wrist, you'll notice it's going to start curling it already. And we're right where we need to be. Okay, so if he puts pressure, here, I pass this over, bring this in, palm up, and right here, as I bring this elbow down and I rotate, you'll start getting the tap. There it is. Okay, so those are just some common entries that you can do from side control. And just remember, putting weight on your elbow really stops the person from extending. Because anytime your partner feels you going for an Americana, if I'm light here, yeah, they're gonna shoot. But as soon as I start to put pressure here, your goal should be to kind of elbow the ground near their ear here. So now if he tries to extend, yep, and he's just giving me opportunity to come in here. So let's talk about two more things that you can do when someone starts to counter your Americana. So I'm going to start from crossbody, okay? Crossbody, I usually call that when I'm checking his hip, all right? So for this one, I'm actually going to use his gi against him. Now, in order to use his gi against him, I need to bring my arm out and I'm going to have to loosen this. But remember this, anytime I remove my hand from checking his hip, I'm going to use, in fact, I'm going to rotate Charl here. I'm going to make sure I bring my knee in to stop his leg. Remember, I'm using my hand to stop him from getting guard, okay? Because if I just bring this out here, he's going to start applying his knee in to get guard. So anytime I start to remove this, I have to make sure this knee comes and replaces it. So I bring the knee in, and now I can pull this out. Okay, let's return back to center and let's talk about how we can catch the Americana. So we're here, I bring my knee in to replace it, and then I'm going to come here for an underhook. And as I get the underhook, we're going to pull out their gi. A lot of times when you pull this gi out, your goal is to bring it up here, and you're really going to grab their own gi right here to start doing some chokes. But what people will do is they'll defend this by putting their hand in your neck like you did last time. Let's say I have this gi this time. So from here, I put some pressure in. He's going to put back. I bring this around, and as I separate my head from his forearm, I pass the gi over right here. Now, once you pass his gi over, cinch it. Take your time to cinch this up. Okay? I don't want him to get away. So you notice I'm tightening this all up right here. I don't want to just pass it, and then it's loose. Yeah, so he's going to pull that out. So once I replace my knee, I bring this under. He starts to bring his hand up, bring this back, pass it over. Use your head if you need to, but I'm going to cinch this up really tight. And once I have it tight, I use my left hand here to hold it here. Now this is just going to assist me. Now to finish it, your right arm, as you give it to your left arm is going to give it to your right arm here. I'm going to bring my knee up on his stomach to keep him down, and I'm just going to do a tricep extension. That's all I'm going to do as I put my head on the mat. So knee comes up, head here, and tricep extension right here. So that's how you can get the Americana. Sometimes you'll get a wrist lock, okay? But once again, cinch this up, get it really tight. I can start bringing his elbow down. Knee goes up to keep his hips on the mat. And a lot of times they'll bridge and that'll force your head forward. That's fine. Even if you lose your hand behind his neck, if he bridges just a little bit, I go forward here. Just a tricep extension right here. Okay. And that's how we get one of the Americanas. Second one we're going to talk about is going to be if they're going to actually try to darce you from the bottom. So let's go over that counter real quick. If I go and I get him to the square in one of the various ways we've talked about, one of the ways that he's going to get out is if you watch his back arm where he's at, he's going to filter it underneath and pull his head out. And when that happens right here, he has a darce choke. So we don't want that to happen, okay? So one of the counters is anytime I realize this hand's coming in, I'm going to switch to a paper cutter choke, okay? So I come here, I start attacking, I replace my knee. As I come, I feel him filter that. So what I'm gonna do, what you're not gonna see because my chest is covering it, is this hand is gonna let go and I'm gonna come under and grab the collar. Okay, and that's gonna stop him from popping his head out. Yep. So once I have that collar, I'm gonna pull him tight. So here we go. Here's what's gonna happen. I go for the Americana. He's filtering that under. Oh, I grab this right here. Now I drop my weight. So now he can't pull out. Okay. My other hand's gonna come around. I'm gonna put my thumb in the collar right here. Once I have this here, okay, I'm gonna drop my elbow and I can switch my hips. Switching my hips just allows this elbow to drop, be really heavy here. And I'm gonna pull the slack and open my elbow. And there's a choke. So I'm countering him and I'm just getting a choke out of going for an Americana. Okay, so one more time, real quick. I'm getting him to the square. I feel him filtering that under to counter me. You're gonna come reach through, grab that, drop my weight, pull this tight so he can't pull his head out. Yep, there's my thumb. Then look, I switch my hips. And I open, pull. Okay, and that's how we get a good paper cutter choke from them trying to counter your Americana. So these are just two more options you can go over. Using their gi to get the Americana or just going for a paper cutter choke. So I hope you guys enjoy that.